Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar presented by Milo Massimo and the Billing Platform. We are going to talk about managing multi-year deals in Salesforce and how they can flow nicely into the Billing Platform. Quick intros. My name is Maria Warheit. I'm the founder of Milo Massimo. We are a Salesforce.com implementation partner with a focus on Revenue Cloud. And today's speakers are Christina Blagin, VP of Delivery and Operations at Milo Massimo, and Dan Beater, Director and Partner Operations at the Billing Platform. Our agenda for today, we are going to briefly talk about who we are and then pass it over to Dan to introduce the Billing Platform. After that, we are going to explore the multi-year deals, as I mentioned, and how they are going to be managed in Salesforce and how they can be managed with the help of code line groups and other automations that we develop. And then Dan on his side is going to show us how it flows from Salesforce into the Billing Platform setup. A little bit about us. As I mentioned, we are partner in Revenue Lifecycle Solutions, and we've been in business for over 7 years, but also have a lot of previous experience before starting the company. Aside from Salesforce, we also have experience in NetSuite integrations, setting up implementation of Conga, DocuSign, basically all the necessary tools to successfully help our customers, and of course, partnering with the Billing Platform. Milo Massimo's value proposition, we help our customer grow revenue. We help them reclaim lost revenue and align the strategic and operational objectives with any changes that are needed. Specifically, managing complex deals with subscriptions and professional services model. Also, we work on increasing recurring revenue for our customers and putting together a pricing guardrail in place to make it all efficient and decrease the lost revenue. And last but not least, of course, unify the sales with finance. And that's where the Billing Platform comes in. And then I will pass it to you to give us an overview of the Billing Platform.
Thanks, Maria. Hi, everybody. My name is Dan Beater. I'm Director of Partner Operations here at Billing Platform. I'm going to take the next 5 minutes or so here to introduce who we are, what we do, and how we really see our role in the lead to revenue lifecycle. So it's our experience that quote to cash processes have gone largely underserved. 15, 20 years ago, massive investments were made into systems that would support finance, accounting, inventory management, and so on, but they were purpose-built for static, straight line processes. And similarly, big investments were made into functions like customer support and sales automation. But even those didn't account for increasing complexity of the customer journey and the cyclical business models that would be built off the back of all of this data. And what organizations were left with were disparate systems, broken and overlapping processes, and human intervention mixed with spreadsheets to fill the holes. And so one of our goals is to create an avenue for clear, dependable, actionable data shared by everyone and everything involved in the entire cycle. When you have no kinks in the chain, so to speak, and you have clear processes in place, you can increase time to market, increase productivity, improve the customer experience, and ultimately increase your revenue. And so when we have great partners like Milo Massimo, who really know this stuff, both from a process perspective and the underlying technology, specifically speaking with Salesforce in mind today, we work together to increase speed of sales motion, provide for a better end customer experience. And of course, when we think revenue objectives, we want to provide our customers better context within which things like renewals and upsells and lifetime customer revenue management could be more effective, which leads to increased CSAT scores, better retention, et cetera. And then ultimately with clean, clear, actionable data, organizations are better positioned to actually execute on revisions to strategy as they look into the future. And we see Billing Platform, coupled with partners like Milo Massimo, as the connective tissue in this life cycle that's constantly feeding itself, constantly learning from itself, and constantly improving. And this is why leading analysts that cover our space have all ranked us at the top of their leaderboards. These analysts all look at the revenue management space through slightly varied lenses, right? So some look at just subscription billing management, others look at subscription and usage, some weigh other variables more heavily than others, like partnerships and community or configurability versus customization. The bottom line is that they all have their own standards and parameters with which they grade the players in our space. In any way you slice it and dice it, Billing Platform consistently has come out on top. And while that's all well and good, and we're proud of how we've scored with analysts, nothing speaks more to the value and malleability of Billing Platform than our diverse customer base. Whether it's large media companies using Billing Platform to manage their broadcast and digital ad billing, or it's modern telcos, fintech, IoT companies, billing for franchising, our customers represent numerous industries and requirements. So the one thing they all have in common, though, is the need for agility, flexibility, and the ability to support their business requirements for the now, next, and future. And what's behind the scenes driving revenue management for all these enterprises is the true power of the platform. First and foremost, we are a platform. Many solutions claim to have a platform, but we actually are. So this means a unified data model, right? It also means, much like Salesforce, that not only can you easily create new entities and fields and configure how they're displayed on screens, but when you create them, they're directly integrated into the metadata so they can be used immediately in reports, workflows, formulas, and the APIs. And the kicker is that it's all done via configuration. Can the more tech-savvy folks build a custom widget in the system if they want to? Sure, that's supported too. But 99.999% of what Billing Platform does is via point and click, drag and drop configuration that's out of the box, that's designed to empower non-technical business users to accomplish complex operations in an automated fashion. It's really the best of both worlds. And one of the most powerful aspects of the platform is our ability to easily integrate with any external system that our customers bring to the table. And the lion's share of our customers operate in a Salesforce ecosystem. With our Salesforce data sync that we're highlighting today, our customers get a true unified solution with clean, clear, actionable data from lead all the way to revenue. And how our customers price, package, and sell their deals, we see a lot of multi-year deals with scheduled ramps, right? So this makes sense in theory, right, from a sales point of view, but they're not always the easiest to execute, right? You have to think about how the deal's booked, how the billing system will receive and interpret that data from the upstream CPQ, and then ultimately how the revenue is recognized over time too, right? So I'm going to hand it back over to Maria to expand a bit more on these common challenges that she and the Milo Massimo team see every day. So back to you, Maria.
Thank you, Dan, and thanks for the great overview. So let's explore a little bit the multi-year deals and what they do. So multi-year deals are basically contracts that are sold to a customer over a period of multiple years versus one time or on an annual basis. And these deals involve various levels of services, right? They can involve various product delivery. They have different pricing structures over the term of an agreement. So when we interact with their clients, and as you can imagine, these deals are beneficial for the long-term commitments and provides a lot of predictability. The key characteristics for multi-year deals is that their flexibility of incremental growth, right? What we see with our clients, multi-year deals also allows for our clients to, when they sell to their clients, it allows them to increase gradually in the product or services, and it aligns with their customer expected growth, right? That means that as the customer needs to expand, it gives the flexibility that the contract terms can also scale accordingly. Also, the pricing for these deals typically starts lower and then increases each year. And this structure provides an attractive entry for the customers. And what we see, it makes it easier for them to commit initially, and then at the same time securing a long-term relationship. So as I mentioned before, over time, the value of the services or the product increases, and then the pricing adjusts to reflect the growth. And also another key characteristic that with the multi-year deals that we see with our customers also is that it can have structured phases. So, for example, each phase can have specific terms, specific conditions, pricing that is agreed upfront. And lastly, it's predictable revenue, right? The customers, the multi-year deals, if the deals are structured well, then they offer predictable revenue streams and better financial forecasting. As Dan mentions, we do see a lot of customers that use multi-year deals, and these multi-year deals are great. However, when it comes to setting them up in Salesforce, managing them, setting them up properly, they come with some challenges. And specifically, when it comes to pricing, product configurations, and making sure that the quotes are accurate. And for example, a few challenges that we always need to keep in mind when implementing multi-year deals for our customers is that we need to think about different areas, right? For example, we need to think about, okay, for example, how do we manage, how is the customer going to manage various prices and discounting over multiple years? For example, first year, what do we do if the software is, let's say, a 20% discount? And then the second year, it varies, it's 10% discount. And then the third year, it's no discount. So we have to keep in mind all the scenarios. Also, handling product configuration changes for the multi-year also can be challenging. Sometimes clients upgrade from, let's say, from a basic package to a premium package. And so we want to make sure that these changes are captured correctly and then managed correctly. How we address all these challenges is part of them could be addressed using Salesforce CPQ groups functionality. But that functionality is somewhat limited, and especially when it comes to amendments and renewals. For example, adjusting the quality of a service in year 2 without impacting the agreed term in year 1, it requires careful management. So that's why we, on top of the with the group functionality that Salesforce has, we also developed a process and an automation that takes care of these applications. I hope that was a useful overview, and managing multi-year deals with groups and adding the process and automation that we developed, in the end, it reflects clear segmentation, structure retention, and of course, what we always want is efficiency. I'm going to pass it over to Christina now, and she's going to take us over into the Salesforce instance.
So thank you, Maria. Hello, everyone. So let me walk you through a brief demo to showcase how we handle multi-year deals with quote line groups, making the process seamless and efficient. So let's start with an account in Salesforce here. You can see the account details are populated with the necessary information. Next, we have an opportunity associated with this account. And this opportunity represents a multi-year deal we are working on. Now, let's dive into the quote for this opportunity, and we've already created this quote. And I'll click on the edit line buttons to show you the details. Now, as we navigate to the quote line editor, you will notice the quote line groups for each year. And here is the start date for this quote. And you can see that the subscription term is set to 36 months, indicating a 3-year deal. Now, to manage this multi-year deal effectively, we've segmented the quote into 3 quote line groups, each representing a year. And you can see that the subscription term on each year, on each quote line group is set to 12. That is, it's set for a year. Now, this segmentation helps in tracking and managing the deal year by year. So let's take a closer look here. You can see that we have the same product in each group because we leveraged the cloning function. And you can also see that there is a 10% price increase applied to each product. So this happens year over year via an automation that we have working in the background that does the calculation. So this setup aligns with an incremental pricing strategy. What I'd like to highlight here is that when it comes time for a mid-term amendment or a contract renewal, the quote line groups would not be automatically retained in the renewal or amendment quotes. So this functionality is not available out of the box. So we utilized custom development to achieve this, ensuring not only that the original group structure is maintained with the same products, but the dates also accurately populated and prices are calculated correctly. So for amendments, the amendment quote will reflect the original quote line groups with the same start and end dates. And our custom automation adjusts dates only for the lines in the current year, taking into consideration the amendment start date. For renewals, the custom automation replicates the same number of quote line groups as the original quote, and the dates for these groups are automatically updated to account for the renewal term and the subscription term. So this prevents the need for manual adjustments, saving time and reducing errors. Now, going back to the current example, we created an order from it, capturing all the details and ensuring consistency across our processes. And with that, I'll hand it over to Dan, who will explain how this data seamlessly syncs to the billing platform. Over to you, Dan.
Thanks, Christina. So let's set the stage for what comes next. So far, we've walked through the account, the opportunity, the multi-year ramped quote, how that's all easily broken down using quote line groups. And now we've arrived at the order. So the customer signed off on the quote, they signed the MSA, ink to paper, we're off to the races. Now it's time to book the deal and tell the world, right? So this is where we'll pick things up in Billing Platform. All the relevant data from the account, if it's part of a hierarchy, the contract, if applicable, the order and order lines, along with pricing and any discounting, relevant dates, if it's a new order, if it's an amendment, if it's a renewal, etc. All of that data is fed into Billing Platform via our bidirectional Salesforce connector. So again, it's bidirectional, meaning it can be triggered to pull or push data between the two systems. That means the story isn't over when orders are pushed into Billing Platform, right? So as invoices are created, as revenue is recognized, as aging information accrues, all this data that is native to Billing Platform can then be fed back into Salesforce to inform and educate those AEs and other folks who live in Salesforce so that when they're speaking with their customers, they have all the relevant data they need at their fingertips without ever leaving Salesforce, right? And then as amendments are created in CPQ, that data updates the account products and Billing Platform and creates RevRec contract modifications for reallocations. As renewals are pushed through CPQ, this all goes through the connector. And the best part is that the connector is 100% configurable for non-technical business users, right? And it leverages simple mapping exercises between system objects and fields. And that's both standard and custom objects and fields in both systems, which means that the solution can be configured to fit your ever-changing needs, right, for your business. So let's dive in and take a look. So we have our activated order here in Salesforce for our Elite Enterprises account, right? We've got a contract associated with this order that holds our terms. We see these 3 order products created from our quote line groups, and let's click into these, right? So we can see a 10% increase year over year. We have our start and end dates for these ramps. So this order and these order lines, along with all the account data, the contacts at that account, the terms, the pricing, all these data points are mapped between the 2 systems. And that means as a billing platform user, as we go into billing platform now, I have a 360-degree view of this account and everything that's happening with it, right? So here I can see our Elite Enterprises account's been created. As we scroll down, we could see some specific bill to information, right? We see our contact from Salesforce has come over. We can also see that there is an order created that was created by the Salesforce connector. The order IDs from both systems are included, the order date. This was a net new order, right? It wasn't an amendment, wasn't a renewal. This was a net new, right? We see the amount, we see associated Salesforce contract ID as well. We can also see the account products and subscriptions that are provisioned to this account. And we can also see a revenue recognition contract was automatically created as well. And more on that in a few minutes. We also see invoices. It looks like there are also no collections cases or promise to pay plan set up. So this account seems to be in good standing, right? And then we've got some widgets here for payments and aging information, et cetera, right? So, and by the way, if this data isn't in the order that I want to see it, right, I can simply open up the layout editor right here, and I can kind of drag and drop fields, these different elements, add new groupings, move things around, however I need to see the data, right? So the user experience is configurable as well, all right? So let's collapse this account information. Let's get into, dig into this order, right? So we've got kind of summary information here, but let's actually dive in, right? So we can see all of our relevant Salesforce data from the order, from status to order ID to the quote ID that it came from as well. We can also see the related order lines that came over. And again, we could kind of see a quick view of the data. But if we click into one of these for an expanded look, again, we're bringing all of the relevant data over for these order lines from pricing, term, tracking statuses. And let me also make this very clear. Again, the UI is configurable. So if your users could care less about all of these Salesforce IDs, you could simply not include them or really hide those from view as well. And so again, we've got our order. We looked at the order lines, they're activated. We saw that we have an invoice that's already been closed when we were taking a look at the account a few minutes ago. But what about the revenue recognition side of this equation, right? So we see we have a RevRec contract here. Let's dig into this and kind of see how things are shaping up. So first of all, we know from looking at the customer account earlier that we've invoiced for that very first year already, right? So if we were to look at that invoice, we would see an invoiced amount of $5,000. And then we would also see related GL entries where we're debiting accounts receivable and we're crediting deferred for that full $5,000. So this RevRec contract and its RevRec contract products were automatically created when the order came through from Salesforce, right? So we could see the totals for each performance obligation and for the RevRec contract in total. We could see the expected billings or the total contract transaction price total of $16,550, right? This is the sum of that 3-year ramp pricing, right? we can also see the total standalone selling price, or SSP, of $15,000, right? So SSP represents kind of that perfect world scenario in which all the products would be sold in accordance with their value, right, at $5,000. In the real world, however, right, with discounts and with ramped deals like this one, right, the perfect kind of scenario is rarely the case, right? So total SSP here is the sum of all the products SSP and the performance obligation. In this case, the calculation is pretty simple, right? It's $5,000 times 3. We can also see here the allocation percentage, and this determines the percentage of revenue from the total SSP to allocate to each of the products in the performance obligation. In this case, it's a fairly easy calculation since it's the same product and the same SSP, right? And derived from that allocation percentage is our allocated revenue amounts, right? So this calculation determines the amount of revenue from the total transaction price to allocate to each of the products in the performance obligation, right? So in this case, the calculations are, again, simple, right? So essentially you're spreading that $16,550 among all the products in a fair way, right? That aligns with each product's share of the total SSP. Again, the calculations in this scenario are simplified because we're looking at the same product over 3 years. But if this was a perhaps more complex scenario involving a bundle where there were different types of products and services, maybe there's subscription and warranties and usage and so forth, right? These amounts would differ. And what we can also see here is the amount recognized to date. So the order began on June 27th of this year. We're now in July, and we've sent out one invoice, right? And we can see also the GL rule that's associated with this. Let me just scroll over. So we could see the GL rule that's associated with this, right? This is a ratable revenue rule. What that means is that it recognizes the total $16,550 over that period of 36 months. That means that the rev rec to date of $459.72 here is roughly 1/36 of the total expected billings. In other words, we're recognizing monthly over time, right? Now, some of you may have noticed that we're actually allocating more revenue in years 1 and 2 than the expected billings for those years, right? That's because while the rev rec should be smooth over time, right, the billing is ramped or increases over time. So therefore, the deferred balance is going to be negative at the end of that year, right? So this is actually very normal. And BillingPlatform has monthly automated deferred to unbilled reclassification entries that will correct itself long term via reversing entries that automatically trigger until that deferred balance is where it needs to be, right? And hey, in the real world, you know, we mentioned before, you have amendments midterm, you have renewals, you have all these different things that will happen in the customer journey. It's not always the happy path, right? So earlier we saw in the order that it was a net new order type from Salesforce. Amendments, renewals, these things all start in the sales world, right? So those changes will start in the CPQ. Those orders would come into BillingPlatform. BillingPlatform would then automatically adjust and make those changes, right? So whether it's changing effective dates, adding new products, upgrades or downgrades midterm, whatever the amendment, or if it's a renewal, right? That's also accounting for from a revenue contract perspective, right? So this, from a rev rec perspective, would be a contract modification. And these allocations that we see here would also change. And we would also have GL rules in place to balance out those changes, right? So I hope this has been very informative, right? I'll wrap up now with the reminder that everything here today was configurable, right? No coding was required. And if you'd like to see more, right, if you'd like to speak with Milo Massimo and ourselves about setting up a discussion or demonstration, we're here and we're happy to help. I'll pass it back to you, Maria.
Thank you, Dan. Yeah, we hope that you found the webinar valuable. And yeah, if you have any questions about anything that you saw here today, reach out to us. And also, if you have any other questions in general about revenue lifecycle solutions, just feel free to reach out. Thank you.